This one today is about chronic fatigue, but just for a change, it's looking at it from a different perspective. I'm the person in this relationship that's had chronic fatigue, and that means that Graham's had to live with it. And obviously, when you're suffering with chronic fatigue, you have to give yourself the priority. But I'd be interested to know how it was for him, what it felt like. And I'm saying this as if it's in the past. It's almost over. The worst is over. But I'd like to know what it was like. Where would you like to start? What strikes you first of all?
Well, it was quite a difficult situation to come to terms with, really, because suddenly I was like the person that I share my life with, the person that I love, was having to completely it completely redefined her life and how she had to live her every day, and because of that, it meant also that I had to also consider what I was doing and what we could do together because of that, and so it was like suddenly your whole life looks kind of a little bit different all of a sudden, quite unexpectedly.
So were you afraid or worried, or were there any kind of emotions like that involved?
I wouldn't say so much. It wasn't fear. It was more worry about and concern about is this what it's going to be like from now on, and thinking, gosh, we're not going to be able to do that anymore, or we're going to have to think really carefully about how we do things, and suddenly you're thinking, I haven't had any time to prepare for this. It's suddenly happened, and suddenly your life looks different, and it's kind of, I suppose, in a sense, it was a little bit scary if I think about it.
So how did you marry up the duality, if you like, of having to care for somebody because you love them, but also realizing that your life is probably at very least on hold?
I think you just take one day at a time, really. I think it was just a case of dealing with the reality day to day, and getting through each day and making sure that you felt supported, because that's one thing I really wanted, I didn't want you to feel that you were being a burden on me, because
which I was.
Well,
inevitably,
yes, but it never felt like that, and I didn't want you to feel like that, and I realised, I suppose it also brought out a part of me that just wanted to care and look after you as well, and obviously when you've got a busy lifestyle, and also when you've got, you need to continue getting an income, you kind of think, okay, what's this going to mean if this is more long term?
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And how I think you've been really helpful and supportive, bearing in mind that I've taken some unusual steps. Perhaps I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone to try and let myself get better. What's that been like for you? Because you're one step further removed again.
We're talking about the constant, like creating the celery juice drinks and things like that every day, and going out and buying the things.
Yeah, I opened up to things like bioresonance, which I thought was superb actually, which I'd never really thought about before.
I think with respect to me, I think I'm always pretty open-minded and pretty accepting of trying anything different, and I've always been that case with yourself as well. And I've allowed myself to also be open to changes that have, affected me in a positive way. So I just felt that if this is something she wants to explore, then yeah, go for it, do it. Why not? What is there to lose?
Did you ever get upset or worried or whatever, anything that I didn't go to the doctors? Because obviously that is an obvious thing to do.
I think initially when I wasn't clear that it was what we've probably, we know now it is linked to chronic fatigue. I think initially I was concerned that it might be something else, that all sorts of things start going through your mind, and you think, at least just go and have a blood test, or just go and see. But then I started to actually question that myself, because I thought, but what is a doctor going to do? All they're going to do is suggest taking this drug or that drug, or saying, oh, it's all in your mind, or something like that, because that's unfortunately the way that it often is.
Yes, because so little is known about it formally.
And knowing you as I know you, and the way that you've dealt with other conditions, earlier in your life, I know that you intuitively, you have a way of intuitively knowing what it is, and then dealing with it. And I think that I was confident that that you knew best in this situation, and all I wanted to do was really support you in that.
Thank you. That's been a huge help. So I've got one last question, and really, there must be loads of people in this situation, and it's difficult for both parties. And I just wonder, is there anything that you would suggest to somebody who is living with somebody who's got chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, the sorts of conditions that seem a little bit, they're a bit hidden because the person doesn't look ill usually, but that person clearly isn't able to fulfill the life that they were hoping to live at that point. How do you recommend that somebody deals with that?
That's an interesting and quite a tough question to answer, because we all respond in different ways. I think really it's just allow the person the space, and give them the belief as well. Let them know that you believe in them, and that you
believe they have it, because
that they believe they have it. Yeah, absolutely. And if you start kind of like giving the impression that you think, well, it's all in her mind, or then that's the very worst thing that you could do. And I never
then be living with conflict on top of everything.
I never felt for a moment it was in your mind. I maybe questioned sometimes that, is that the right way to go about it in terms of what you were doing? But I soon came to realise that yes, just let her get on with it, because she knows what she's doing. And
I'm not sure I always did.
Maybe not. And also, I think we both came up with ideas and suggestions, didn't we?
Did, yeah.
Like the magnesium.
Yeah.
I think I had a bit of a light bulb moment with that, and that's proven quite helpful.
Yeah, that was useful.
So yeah, it's been a real learning experience, and
it has. We've learned so much, haven't we?
Yeah, I think there's with illnesses and certain conditions, or any conditions that you'd rather not have. I suppose there's always this thing that, why me? And you want to think, I wish this was, had never happened. But ultimately, you have to accept that it's happened, and you have to deal with it. And
that's for both parties.
Unfortunately, in your case, it seems to be something that you've managed to, that you are able to live with, and that it's even though you have your good days and bad days. There is a kind of continual improvement, and and that's that's been great to see.
Yeah, and I hope it continues for both of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.